Hello everyone, I'm Pierrette and welcome to my kitchen. Today we are making butternut squash soup. I know, squash, not everybody's favorite, but butternut squash, if you have never tried it, is sweeter and nuttier, hence the name, than almost any other squash I've ever tried. And I think it makes a delicious soup. If you like those creamy, kind of thick soups, you will love this. And it's so simple. It's time to acknowledge that summer's over. And I'm gonna give you a list of ingredients and then we're gonna get started. First things first, we're gonna start with some onion and garlic. I'm using a whole sweet yellow onion for this dish, but you could use white or red onions instead. Just know that they have more of a bite, so use whatever flavor profile you prefer. Peel and chop the onion so it's ready to go. And then heat your pan for about a minute while you crush or chop your garlic. My husband bought me this cool smashing tool off Amazon and it's my new favorite. Add your butter, and when you add the onions, the butter should still be yellow, but you should hear a nice sizzle. The onions and garlic will need to saute for several minutes. Try to keep your flame on the low side so they caramelize. If the heat is too high, the onion edges burn and it will change the taste of your soup, and definitely not for the better. Add some fresh rosemary, just strip the leaves and drop them in, and add several sprigs of thyme and a couple of bay leaves. You'll have to remember to pull the twigs and leaves out later before you puree the soup, but the leaves can stay in. Don't forget to stir or shake the pan periodically so the onions cook evenly. Add your chopped butternut squash. I bought mine already chopped so I didn't have to lose a finger trying to chop it myself. Choose your battles, right? Give it a quick stir so the squash gets to make contact with the pan too. I'm making a double batch because it goes way too quickly if I don't. So we need 2 packages of squash, 2 teaspoons each of fennel and cinnamon. Then I'm going to add 2 cups of bone broth. Either homemade or store-bought is fine. If you want a thinner soup later, you can always add more bone broth after it's pureed. I always add a rounded teaspoon of better than bouillon chicken flavor instead of salt. It enriches the flavor of the soup in a way that salt doesn't by itself. Stir that in thoroughly. Then add about 1/4 to 1/2 cup of brandy. This enriches the depth of flavor in the broth as well. Now cover and let it simmer. Stir it occasionally so it's not sticking and there's enough broth, but simmer until the squash pieces are fork tender. Test several pieces to make sure they're tender, because sometimes you do get a few stubborn pieces. This is a good time to pick out the sprigs of thyme and the bay leaves. You won't impress your family or your guests serving them stem and leaf fragments. So get them out of there. Then scoop the mixture into your blender and puree. You may need to do it in half batches depending on the size of your blender, but be careful because it's hot. You'll want to add 1/2 cup to 1 cup of heavy cream depending on how decadent you want the texture, and then pour it back into your saucepan. Thin it with some more bone broth if you want it thinner, and it's ready to serve. And now we're ready to put this dish together and taste. And I can't wait for this part. It's gonna be so good. I just have a little bunch of chives. I'm going to take my cooking shears or any scissors. You can chop them with a knife if you prefer. This just goes pretty quickly. Don't cut your finger. And then I'm gonna sprinkle some pistachios on top. This is about 2 tablespoons, maybe 1 to 2 tablespoons of chopped pistachios. And it seems like it might be a little weird to put nuts in your soup, but the flavor and the texture are really nice. So sometimes creamy soups can just be too creamy and they're dull because there's no texture. So that gives it just a little bit of relief from the monotony of all that creaminess, just bite after bite. Sometimes you need a little texture. So with that said, you can see how beautiful this looks. I hope you can. And we're just gonna mix in all of our goodies, including our sour cream. Oh my gosh, I can't wait to taste this. I wish you could smell it. It smells so good. So, ready? Taste test. The first taste that I get are the spices. The cinnamon, the fennel, the thyme, the rosemary. And cinnamon seems like an odd spice to pair with those, but with the butternut squash, it is so complementary. It's exactly what it needs. I highly recommend you try this. You get the brandy too. So good. I'm going to be polishing this off, and I think I might even make some little garlic breadsticks to go with this tonight. I think that'll be the perfect accompaniment. So in the meantime, I will see you guys. Thanks so much for watching. Take care. There may not be any left for dinner.